Hi, this presentation is going to walk through Webforms for Government. My name is Jacob Rockowitz. I'm known as Jay Rockowitz on the web. I'm a Drupal development software architect. I built and maintain the Webform module for Drupal 8. I'm going to start with some Webform basics. The Webform module is a powerful and flexible open source form builder and submission manager for Drupal 8. It provides all the features expected from an enterprise proprietary form builder combined with the flexibility and openness of Drupal. The use case is that you would build a form or copy a template, publish that form as a page node or block on your site, collect form submissions, people fill out the form, and then send out confirmation and notification emails, review those results online, and finally distribute those results by either downloading them as a CSV or remote posting them to a CRM. So once again, the use case is really like build a form, collect the data, distribute the data. And I like to just demo some Webform basics. It's a clean install. I like starting off with just showing a contact form, which everyone's familiar with. You know, your name, email, and subject. And the demo, I just want to add a company element. I'm going to go over to the Form Builder UI and hit Add Element and select a text field and type company. Don't need to change any other options here. Just these are reasonable defaults. I'm going to get into that a little bit. Add a company. Go over to the View tab. Look at the form. It says company. Really should say your company and be at the top below your name and required. So I'm going to go back into the builder, but instead of using the UI, I'm going to switch over to the source mode. And this shows you the source, the YAML source that's powering the form and the elements. I'm going to go over and I just copy company and I'm going to move it up right after name. I'm going to change the label to say your company. And I'd like it to be required, so I'm going to copy what these are called our properties over to the company element and hit save. Instead of viewing it, I'm going to go over to the test tab now. You can see we have the element. What the test tab does is populate the form with default values, just Latin values to work with. I'm going to hit send message, and this contact form is very simple. It redirects to the home page with a message that says your message has been sent. And that's it. We've now built a form and collected the data. Now let's look at the data. So we're going to go back up to the form, results tab, and you can see the results here. Let's click through. Here's our result. You can quickly look at it. Just give you a hint of the capability. You can switch over to a table view, see just side-by-side view of the data if it's a very long form that's useful. If you want to resend the emails, you can go over to the resend tab. And now I'm going to go back up to results. So we've examined the results. Now let's talk about distributing. We're going to go with this one, which is downloading them as a CSV, which I go to the results download tab. And let's do, we could do an HTML table. That's a nice, easy way to do it. Instead of opening it in Excel, I'm going to show it to you on screen. I'm not going to change any of these settings. You can control every aspect of this CSV that's being generated because it's an HTML table that can open Excel. I'm calling it a CSV. If I uncheck this and hit download, you're going to see an HTML table that you can easily open in Microsoft Excel and get a clean style table of your submission data. We'll click back and I'm just going to go back to the main page so we can keep going forward. So I showed you a lot right now, and it's worth talking about understanding the Webform module. And I like that I'm pulling this from some advanced deck I've done to emphasize the Webform module ships with reasonable default settings, but everything is customizable. Don't feel totally overwhelmed when you first use it because there are a lot of features and capabilities. For example, when we created that company element text field, we just need to enter a title. That's all, and we needed to say it was required. You don't need to go start tweaking everything. We'll get into some of the tweaks in a little bit. So managing settings and configurations, experiment with different elements and settings. Walk through the Webform module, try things out. Very important to emphasize, you can disable unneeded elements, handlers, and exporters. I'll get into handlers and exporters a little bit, but the concept is that every feature can be tweaked. And this is Drupal. You can go into your forms and just disable unneeded individual elements using a form alter hook if you have a developer. And I like this animated GIF because it shows you, ready, this is all the labeling capabilities around that simple text field I just created. This is the kitchen sink all at once. You can enter help text in a little bubble, you have placeholders, you have a description below, and you even have a slide out. Don't turn on all of these things at once on your site. Pick one depending on the use case and stick to it. But you'll need these in different scenarios. I'll throw out that I use them more when I have a huge amount of descriptive text, like a definition that takes up maybe a half a screen. There's no reason to show that all at once. And I use the question mark when I have a tight amount of space where I need a little extra help available occasionally. Use it heavily in the Webform UI because I just want to give people little tips along the way without cluttering the user experience. And disabling unneeded elements. I'm on the configuration page for elements and I'm scrolling down and I'm just showing you, even these by default, the password elements are disabled because they're not secure. You can turn them on if you need them. If you're pushing passwords to a CRM, that's okay. But just keep that in mind. If you're on these screens, you can turn these things off. If you don't want people uploading images, turn it off. Okay. So the Webform module provides examples and demos that can be used as a starting point for building forms and applications. There are examples and demos. These are dedicated modules of every element type, multi-step forms, conditional logic, flexbox, and there's demos of how to build an event registration system or an application evaluation. And this is just, I'm scrolling through the style guide here, just showing you the kitchen sink. I recommend every single project set up a style guide for their forms. It's a single form that encapsulates all the different expected behaviors so that your front-end build designers know exactly what they're looking at. If you run into bugs, you can come here first and check the functionality. It makes a huge difference. Now, there's lots of different ways to learn more about the Webform module, and usually this comes at the end, but before we get into these details, I just want to throw out there's great documentation online. There's screencasts, there's recipes, Drupal answers, people are providing questions and getting responses, and the issue queue, if you find bugs, is very active. So let's get into the meat of this. Webforms concerns for government. 3 big Webform concerns for government. This is what we're going to talk about, is data, how you're collecting data, security, securing that data, and accessibility. Collecting, displaying, and distributing rich data. Security, I boil it down as preventing malicious users from accessing data. And accessibility is just equal access for people with disabilities. And this is, we'll get into why that's important for governments. Let's talk about collecting submission data. So what are the different types of inputs available to collect data? Because that's really what it comes down to. How are you, what do you have available? Well, this is kind of an overview of the types of inputs. There's text inputs, there's option inputs, checkboxes, radios, select buttons, file uploads, and I like to call widgets the little enhanced elements like ratings, signature, phone, and then you can do entity references within your web form. You can have a drop-down menu of upcoming events or users, or even taxonomy terms. There's a little like snippet from the style guide where I'm just calling out examples. There's a simple text input, options, buttons, images, and even signatures. There's a more advanced element called a composite element, and composite elements are multiple inputs working together, used to collect addresses, names, etc. You can build out custom ones, and they're reusable across multiple web forms. So you define this composite. Here's our address, and every form you can insert the same address element and collect the same data. This is an example of the address element that ships with the Webform module. Address, a couple of field inputs, and I'm going to give you a little demo of that. But let's talk about file uploads and attachments. They're slightly different things. File uploads allow someone to post a file to a server. There is now this Webform attachment submodule where you get this attachment element where you're basically able to generate files that are attached to your submission. It could be an XML file generated on the fly, or you can even say, I'd like this PDF to be sent with an email when someone submits the form. And that's a really important thing. That's the real power of file uploads and attachments, is you can send them via email or remote post them to an external server. Now, that is a really complex concept, and this little short video clip is to emphasize there is a help tab at the end containing videos about all these topics. There's a dedicated 20-minute video about sending file uploads and attachments via email, how that works. If you get stuck, it's a great way to get unstuck. And then you can go ask questions in other places. So, how can you display collected submission data? Well, I think it's important to just say forms. You can preview the, as someone's filling it out, you can add a preview. I really like that there's a new feature where you can download a submission as a PDF. You can convert it to a PDF document and have a really clean document that you can share with people. And it's important when you're building these displays of your submissions, data can be displayed using tokens. So in your email, you can slip a whole variety of tokens and build out a custom email. And elements can even be formatted using Twig. You can go into an element like an email address or even the address element and how it's displayed and say, I want to completely customize this. I want full control, and switch over to Twig. And this is just a demo of downloading a submission as a PDF. It's that simple. There's a little button. You turn on the module. You get a button at the bottom, download PDF. It's using the entity print module. And yeah, I think this slide's kind of funny, but I want to reinforce. You run into a problem, ask the question. Google Webform PDF generation, because there's a blog post about it with a video explaining everything on how this feature is set up, what's the purpose of it, how it works. And now I want to get, this is a really important element. I think for large, rich form sites, you need to leverage computed elements. And what a computed element is it's just an element that performs a calculation. It can do it on the fly using Ajax. It allows you to grab additional information. So if someone sends you a user entity reference, you can go grab the user data. And it allows you to even take data you're getting and build a completely custom display. Like you can grab tokens, you can put those in. And the demo here is this is, by the way, in the example module. There's a computed Ajax example. The first one is a calculation. I am just calculating two numbers and showing you can add numbers together using Twig. And the second one is a user entity reference that when someone selects a user, I'm grabbing individual pieces of metadata from that user and displaying it and sending it and sharing it in the form. So how can you review submission data? Well, you can review results online. We looked at that. You can also customize that display, and I think it's important that people understand that that's a very valuable feature. I use it for most of my projects where I'll go in and clean it up. And you can build completely new results using the Webform Views integration module. So for customizing, this is the results set we were just looking at for contact form. It's got a lot of columns. You click customize and you can uncheck which columns you don't want and sort them. So I'm taking out the metadata, the submitted by IP address, and just keeping the name, email, and subject. And you can see I've streamlined it to really just 4 rows of data. Very easy. It makes it easier for someone to work with. So I think you're seeing a pattern here where when I get to these really complex topics, I'm trying to just guide you to understand that you can get help or find an add-on, a feature. So this little screencast is just showing you that there's a Webform add-on section next to the help section, made a little bigger. There's 102 different add-on extensions for the Webform module, integrations, modules, features. The one we're talking about right now is Views integration, which is a dedicated module. So let's talk about downloading and uploading submissions. So we've really talked about you can export a submission as a CSV, but you can also, this is about just managing this data. You can download all the submissions as PDF documents, which is so powerful. So that not one single. You can go in and say, give me got 10,000 records, give me 10,000 PDF documents with their images in a little zip file. And now bulk submission uploading is supported. And I'm going to demo that. So we got no results on a contact form. I've got this spreadsheet with the Beatles. I'm grabbing the URL for the spreadsheet, which is published as a CSV. I'm going over to the Upload tab and just entering in the URL. You could upload the file, but I'm just saying, here's the URL with CSV data. And boom, it says there's 4 records. You can review the mapping, and you just need to confirm it, and boom, you will get your records in. This is a new feature. People need to start experimenting. If there's bugs, we'll fix it. It's very powerful. And I didn't even note it here, but there's a Drush instance of this as well. There's a whole API. You can, you could do your own APIs to bring in data. So I really want to do some demos. I love demos. I'm just going to show you a composite element in a multi-step form. Basically, this demo is really simple. I'm going to go to that contact form. I'm going to go in here and be like, you know what? I want this to be a little more interesting. So I'm going to go into the builder, and I'm basically going to say, you know what? I don't want your name. I'm going to delete your name. I'm going to delete company. I'm going to keep email because we really need that, but I'm going to add for contact information, I'm going to add a composite element. I'm going to call it contact. It's like an address, but watch what happens. You get, here, we'll just call it contact. You get a name element, you get a company, you get an email. We don't need the email because let's keep the email, sorry, because we have the emails routing using that email address element. I don't want to go in and change that or even get into the weeds on that. But let's collect the phone number, address 1, 2. You can change all the labeling here, by the way. Let's keep going. Flexbox. I'm not going to go there. You should experiment with these things. I'm not even going to make it required. So let's look at what I just did. Boom. Hit save. I put it at the top. And now we're getting someone's contact information, their email address, and a subject. I'm going to just show you how you can do multi-step form because I think it's a cool feature about organizing your data collection. I'm going to hit add page. I'm going to call it your contact information, and that's the page, or let's just call it contact information. I'm not going to do anything more than just add the page, and I'm going to say, and nest that under. This is important about multi-step. Yeah, everything has to be in a page, so I'm going to add another page and call it, I don't know, let's call it email. No, we're going to get a conflict. Let's say message, and you can customize this, so I'm going to say message for the key information. Boom. And the subject, message. I'm going to hit save. Now I'm just going to give you a quick preview. 3 steps. First step is contact information. Here, let's autofill it. Step 1. Step 2, you give the message. And it's done. Just want to give you a taste of the advanced capabilities here. Let's keep going. Let's talk about this other concept. So we're collecting this data. How do we secure web forms? I mean, it really is who should have access to complete and manage web forms? Well, there's levels of access control that you can work with in the Webform module. Permissions, which everyone should be familiar with in Drupal, and the permissions are pretty standard. Who can administrate all forms? Who can access, who can administer just all web form submissions? Who can update their own web form submissions? Who can update any web form submissions? That is on a global level. You can go into your web forms and also do specific web form access and say, who can update any submission for this web form? You can go even a step further and go to individual elements and say this role administrator can update this element and see it or create it. And then you also get into, and this is another advanced concept, web form access controls for nodes, because you can take a web form and copy it over and over to a node. The example I hinted at, I said there's an event registration demo. So think of it this way. There's the event registration with Webform would work like this. You'd have your events, which are nodes. And each event 1, 2, 3, and 4, would have a registration form attached to it. You can take the same web form registration form, attach it to those events, and it will track, ready? Each event gets its own little table that someone's submitting the form. And you can download just the registrations for that event. The Webform Access module takes it a step further and allows you to apply access controls to those individual instances of Webform nodes. And let's step back and look at permissions. And we talked about them, but I want to call out this permission. edit CSS.js web form assets. There's a dedicated permission to allow users to add custom CSS and JavaScript. And there's one even to edit the YAML behind the web form, because there's certain security implications to that rule. These are key permissions you want to set and think about. Access controls, I'm just scrolling through and I'm emphasizing, here's a form. You're basically saying who can view any, update any, submission. You can even say who can test the form. And Webform Node Access, I'm sorry to do this to you again, but to be like, there's a video for that. That should be a punchline of this presentation, but it's calling out there's so much going on. There's no way you're going to get everything in 45 minutes, but there's tons of resources. So how to securely, we talk about permissions. Now we got the data. How do we secure that data, store it safely? There's really two options. Well, there's three, and I left out the third because it's an assumption. You can store the data in Drupal. If you build a secure Drupal instance, there's nothing wrong with that. If you control who has access to the database and your access levels, that is reasonable. The other approach is to encrypt that data using the Webform Encrypt module. Sometimes some governments require data to be encrypted when it's stored. So that's, a module for that. And the second one is this really simple concept. Don't store the data. Let the person submit the form. You completely block it from reaching the database and send that submission through email or process it using a web form handler. And we'll get into web form handlers. The idea is it's just not in the database. And listen, for web form encryption, there's a module for that. You have to download it and configure it. It takes a little time. It's a challenge, but if it's a requirement, you got to do it. And this is just showing you where the setting is. The setting is really sitting, you go to the General tab of your web forms, you can check this box, Disable Saving of Results. It gives you a little warning to make sure that you're doing something with those results so you don't lose the data. And web form submissions, which are not stored in Drupal, can be sent via email or posted to a remote server. So we're getting into that, email and post remote server. So it's like, how are you handling submission data? Well, use web form handlers to send emails, confirmation notification, to push data into a CRM. You could subscribe someone to a mailing list, like MailChimp in a handler. It's handling a submission. You could flag a submission based on submitted values. You can even conditionally change a confirmation message. The confirmation message that's displayed, depending on what someone checks off, you can tweak it. And these are the ones that ship with the Webform module. There's an email handler. There's a scheduled email handler. Once again, I like the event registration demo. Scheduled email handler allows you to remind someone one day before the event via email about the event. Remote posts, that's where you can take a submission and send it to a URL. And then you have, actions and settings. These are ways to tweak behaviors as someone's submitting the form. And there's a debug. That literally will just show you the data coming in. It is super helpful. Shows you data is really simple, if you're missing data, whatever. So I'm going to take our form and disable the sending of results, and we're going to just show you remote posting. So we're on this form, and I'm going to go to disable results. Well, let's clear the results. I just want to show you how that UI works. Boom, we got no more results. Go over to settings, scroll down, disable saving of results. If you don't have any handler set up, there's a warning here that's like you're going to have major problems because you're going to lose data. This is fine because we're doing email. So we've disabled the saving of results. Now we're going to go over to, we're in settings. I'm walking through all these settings, and there's other screencasts about it, but we're going to go over to emails and handlers. And you're going to see the two emails that are configured and set up. I'm going to add the remote post handler. So there's remote post. Oh, by the way, take note of this. This is just an interesting nuance, right? Can't schedule emails if you're not storing data. It's impossible because it requires the saving of submissions for it to work. You need to know the submission, when it was submitted, you need the data on the server. Now, I'm going to do, this allows you to post data to a server. So let's just do http://example.com. There's a lot of features. You can add custom data to this, authentication keys. You can then decide what submission data is going out. By default, it just sends the submission data, what someone's submitting. I will throw out there, since we're not saving results, it's just completed. You can go over to advanced, you can tweak headers, methodology, authentication, error messages. I'm not going to go there. I am going to turn on debugging. I almost forgot that. And you'll see why debugging is really powerful. Boom, we have our remote post. We'll have it run after emails. Now I'm going to go over to the test tab. We are going to have to click twice, which is fine. Boom. And we're going to send the message. And what debugging does is shows us everything on screen. And wow, example.com worked for us. It took our data. That actually usually fails. Someone set up example.com, which is very funny. I usually get a fatal error on that one. I think maybe we could do mycrm.com and break it, but it's totally fine. It's showing you the data going out, which is the contact information, the email, the subject, and you'll notice composites do nest data because it's a group of inputs. For certain CRMs, you might have to flatten that out, which you can do by customizing the data. Finally, there's your response, what's exactly happening. It even is giving you a little help on if your response gave you you can access that response from the CRM in the Webform Handler Remote Post Completed token and pull the values out. Hope that helps you get started and shows you some of the power there. Let's keep going. We're going to wrap up with talking about accessibility. Not a lot, but why do governments care about accessibility? And by the way, there's tons of presentations about accessibility in the Drupal community. Governments care about accessibility because it's the law. It's that simple. The governments mandate that you give people with disabilities access to information, and it's an obligation. And in the Drupal community, we are committed to accessibility. Dries wrote a blog post. That's the founder of Drupal. Today I've come to believe that accessibility is not something you do for a small group of people. Accessibility is about promoting inclusion. When the product used daily is accessible, it means we all get to work with a greater number and a greater variety of colleagues, and accessibility benefits everyone. I really think that's an important statement. Accessibility benefits everyone when we care about it. And the Webform module strives to be the most accessible form builder on the market. To do that, it's not that hard. We follow Drupal's best practices. So the generated forms are accessible. The drag and drop form builder is accessible. And we perform ongoing accessibility audits. When we say accessibility audit, there's a blog post about it. It's on the main page of the Webform module and links to it. We're just a self-audit spreadsheet out of Berkeley where we just walk through the capabilities and make sure things are working as expected and documenting things that are not expected. Accessibility is never 100%, but I like to say you have to care. And, I'm pretty proud of this feature that the Webform module is fully keyboard accessible. There's a dedicated shortcuts module. I don't use it heavily, but I like doing it, making sure it's available. And the demo, I'm doing this demo kind of for myself to make a statement here of this is a big deal that when you go to the Webform module, I'm using the mouse to get there. I'm going to fully admit that. I'm not, people with disabilities can navigate sites in an amazing fashion, but I just want to show you that in Drupal, I'm just using the keyboard and I've tabbed to skip to the main content. Now I'm on the main content. I tab again. Let's see. By the way, this is funny. I'm using the keyboard to navigate up. For someone who's blind, they would have had a screen reader telling them where they are. I'm going to just show you that you can click here, hit add element. Let's just, we'll stick to a text field. I do text. I can expand all. I can navigate to it. I can enter. I can just say, demo text field. Tab through everything. I want to show you this feature. This feature is for people with disabilities. Watch this. Expand all. I'm going to collapse everything. The reason collapsing helps is now we don't have to go through all those settings. Boom, we're on save. You can even hit save and add another. Hit save. We're back on the element. By the way, I do this so precariously because I'm not a master, keyboard person, but you can tab up on screen readers. You can just say, go to the, by the way, I think boom, boom, boom. We're at the top, tabbing back, boom, 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 boom. And now we get to skip main content. We've got our element. All right, I'm going to tell you why that's so important. When I've tested most screen readers, you can't even get close to that level. You can't manipulate anything in the form builder. I mean, there's a couple of things. You can't do drag and drop, which, by the way, you can tab in that drag and drop interface and actually use the keyboard to move things around. Most form builders don't even get close to that. And they contain something really common is keyboard traps, where you're navigating, you edit something, including like the YAML source, which that element, that its code mirror has a keyboard trap. Once you're in that element, you can't keyboard out of it. Escape key doesn't work. There's actually a workaround, like there's a little JavaScript snippet that fixes that for code mirror in the Webform module. It's available in the community, but they haven't gotten around to committing that code to code mirror. This is a big one. Just keep that in mind, because in government, you have to be accessible front and back. It's not okay to just say, disabled people can't build sites, only if they can read sites. I'm going to keep going and wrap up. So I want to talk about getting involved. You should join the Drupal Association. I think this is, one of the first steps of being a member of the community. It just helps keep the infrastructure running. Drupal Planet keeps track of blogs. A lot of the stuff I just said, there's a blog post about that, you would find on Drupal Planet and in the newsletter. Both of those are kind of sharing the information going on in the community. Webform is active in both of those environments. And, I'm doing this presentation about governments because I'm presenting at Drupal GovCon, and, there's contribution sprints. And, I'm promoting the Drupal GovCon contribution sprint, but I really think it's worth in this type of presentation that's being recorded just to say to you, get involved, figure out how you can contribute. Some people can write code, some people can help organize events. It's just feeling comfortable being involved in this community, because the reason this software exists is we've worked together to build it. And in the Webform module, if you really are valuing it, using it heavily, you can join the Open Collective. And it's just a service that transparently collects and distributes funds. And organizations who back Open Collective get a receipt for their contribution and see exactly how the money is being spent. And yeah, you should consider supporting the Webform module. It helps. I'm still figuring these things out, but I've used this money to create a logo, t-shirts. I'm experimenting. I actually would like to provide incentive for people to provide security fixes. I might start offsetting some travel costs. I'd like to get a professional accessibility review and maybe figure out how to use the Open Collective to provide priority support. There's just more to come. And that's it. I just want to say thanks for, listening. You want to ask questions, Drupal Answers is the place to be. And I'll end with jrockwitz.com and close on the cool Webform logo. Thanks for your time.